Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Doctor Who, as well as the latest episode of Orphan Black. Like always, if I'm talking about something that you want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I include the time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I had to say about the season finale of Doctor Who, you can skip to what I had to say about this week's episode of Orphan Black. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the season finale of Doctor Who, a fantastic and a very sad ending. Just overall kind of just a somber episode. Obviously, you had that whole beginning part where it's Missy and Master, and I love that kind of back and forth between them the entire episode. Because there's even one line from the Master in this episode, like, "Ooh, would it be wrong of me to know you?" And she's like, "Yeah, very, very bad." So I leave that up to interpretation. I took that one way, but no reason to kind of dive too deeply into that. But it's like, that's weird if you meant it that way. That's because even at one point, the doctor's like, "Okay, do you need a room?" Because it's like, hug me, kiss me, make me. It's like, that's so weird. But then again, it's yourself, but you as a different form. I also appreciate the conversation of like, "Oh, so I'll become a woman at some point? Huh, that's interesting." And it's like, well, I guess, are you a woman? Just because it's like, the doctor already kind of talked about it. It's just like gender's such a fluid thing for them. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, So also the fact is that she doesn't remember what's going on now. It's like, well, the time's out of sync and everything. So your memories at this point will not kind of transfer over to me. You'll forget them because of I guess it's almost like a paradox situation because of that. The memories won't really stay. Missy will remember them, but the Master won't, essentially, because his timeline will kind of sync back with itself, so those memories will kind of fade away. The reason why, it seems like she to a certain extent remembers things. It's not clear cut. I also appreciate the conversation of are you my next regeneration? She's like, I don't honestly know. I guess she's been Missy for so long, she doesn't remember who she was before. So they're kind of alluding to the fact is that she might be the Master's next regeneration, but it might also be the fact is that, no, there might be one, maybe even a couple regenerations in between. We don't actually know how many regenerations the Master's in at this point. We know the Doctor's up to 12, but who knows how many the Master's up to. But obviously there was the sad side to the episode because of the whole Bill situation. And what made it worse is because Bill, to her, she looks like herself, but then she sees these little moments of her mind lapsing and showing her real self. She sees the shadow of herself as a Cyberman, and she's so pissed and everything. Because what's even more messed up is the Master actually said the line of she waited for you. She waited 10 years and you missed her by 2 hours. I think is what he was saying. Whether that was true or not, he was just sticking the knife in even deeper just to, make the Doctor more upset, because it's he sees Bill's here and he wants to save her, but he doesn't know how to do it. It's kind of impressive too, because you see at least part of the episode, he's kind of hurt and everything. You see his hand kind of glowing like he's ready for regeneration, but he kind of swipes his hand away, and she's like, "What was that?" And he quickly changes the subject. And once again, it seems like she's familiar with the concept of regeneration, but I don't know if or maybe she was talking about the pain either way, but it's it seems like she doesn't know exactly what it looks like, I guess, but it's just him fighting the regeneration. He's like, no. He's trying his best to save all these kids and all these people, which I also appreciate the lady that kind of runs that group having a serious thing for Nardole. She's just like, "Oh, so where did you come from?" He's like, I'll go ahead. I'm going to have to tell you this, but I'm not human. She's like, "Well, I'll try anything once." It's like, what? Even the kids later on are like, I think she has a thing for. He's like, "Well, she's only human." It's just shut up, Nardole. I love you. Also, it's pretty impressive he set up that whole situation of those pipes exploding. It's oh yeah, make them think we're a lot more powerful than we are, that we have a powerful arsenal in our hand. Because even like I said, I'm keep using that word over and over again, but kind of a twisted dark side to it is the fact of the matter is the Cybermen want the kids because it's they're easier to transition over into Cybermen, plus less to kind of dispose of when it's all said and done. But so this is a grandstand that, the Doctor even has to explain it to Missy and the Master of no, you think I'm doing this because I want to win? I might lose this, but it's not because I'm trying to win. All I care about is winning, or the fact is I'm doing this because I hate someone, This isn't about fun. This isn't even because it's easy, because it sure as heck ain't easy a lot. But the fact of the matter is, I'm doing this because it's the right thing. And it's like, it's such a beautiful moment, like a beautifully powerful moment. Just like, I'm doing this because it's the right thing. It's kind to, do what's right, and that means helping these people. I might not be able to save all of them, but I will do whatever I can to make sure that I can save as many as possible. And in the end of the day, it might be pointless, but it's still the right thing to do. So I will make my stand, even if it's where I will fall. And it's just like, it's such a beautiful moment. And then you just have the master being like, I want you to remember this face, the face of the man who didn't listen to a word you said, but you see it hit Missy. And that's a constant thing throughout the episode too. There's like, where does Missy align in this whole situation? Obviously at the beginning, she knocks out the master. She's like, oh, I was secretly on your side the entire time. And the doctor's like, were you really? And she's like, kind of like, come on, no, don't spoil the moment and stuff like that. But it's like the moment he had grabbed her into her hand, you see her kind of look at her hand like she felt something. But like, obviously came up with that lie with the ship, and Naruto, when Naruto was piloting and being like, oh yeah, the doctor told us to go on without him, the doctor's dead. And he's like, yeah, you already said that before. It's so interesting seeing that happen on repeat. Like, it's like the master came up with that lie first, and then like immediately after she got on board, she said the exact same line. So it shows you just how much it's not that different between regenerations. Yes, they have their own particular likes and dislikes, but at the same time, to their core elements, they are kind of the same person. At the very least, in the master's case. Maybe it's different from every different like Time Lord. Maybe it's like, oh yeah, like certain Time Lords maintain a lot more of their previous iterations, while others, like the Doctors, change like quite differently. From like to who he is at his core doesn't change, but obviously, like I said, like certain like more personal aspects do. But that's just the nature of the whole situation. But there was also the line of like, oh, you had to bring her too, referring to Bill. And then Master's like, her? It's a Cyberman. What are you talking about? Are you kidding? Empathetic? What the hell is wrong with you? Kind of like, you're going soft. But then there's the end thing at the end that's like kind of solidified like where she stood. I wonder, was it specifically what the doctor said? It's like I've always wanted this. I wanted you to stand by my side. And it looked like she grabbed onto his hand like to be like, I'm sorry, but I can't. But I thought she was going to give him the device that the master needed for his TARDIS. I thought that's what that was, that little, because he's like, oh, I blew, like, was it the dematerialization unit or whatever? And then she's like, I don't remember who it was, but some scary lady grabbed onto me and said to always keep one around. I don't, she must have left quite an impact, because like Missy kept a spare one around. So it's like, I wonder who are they referencing? Is that someone we haven't met yet? Or is it, because especially if it's the master, like master then Missy, as where the master story ended off, I guess at some point that might be somewhere in his future. I wonder will the doctor and Missy have that whole situation of like, oh, we kind of like almost like the whole him and River situation of like meeting each other at different point, like out of sync with their timelines and stuff like that. Because like I said, there's a lot of Missy story we never really got a look at, so I don't know if they're setting her up to be like that, like, oh, we'll pop in on those other points where the doctor's kind of like, oh, I know who you can be because I knew that point of view when you were good, or type of thing. So I don't know, maybe that's just me just overthinking it. That's the kind of a thing that was crossing my mind too, is like, could it have been River at some point in time? There's like a long list of possibilities of who it could have been that kind of made her go like, oh yeah, I need to keep one around. Kind of going full circle with where her story ends up. Not less, I could be wrong, just thinking outside the box. Don't know if it's true or not. Could be the direction they could take the doctor. At some point he becomes a lady and kind of threatens Missy to keep one around, because it's like full circle type of thing, like I was just saying. Just guessing here. Could be completely wrong. But it's like at the end of it, the final moment, she wanted to do the right thing. Whether it was like the entire time she was going to do it, or whether she changed her mind. But she's like, no, we should do what we wanted to do. Stand with the doctor. She had stabbed the master. It's like, yep, you're going to regenerate. And she's turning her back and going to walk go track down the doctor. But the master shoots her in the back, and they're both laughing about it. Because it's like, this is how our story ends. We shoot ourselves in the back. And he's like, you won't regenerate, because I guess he gave it full blast. So I guess this is the end of Missy's story. They set it up to be like that. It looked like she stopped breathing, looked like she did die, but You never know. So there might be more to that or not, but it's sad because it's like the moment she starts to change this, she wants to be good, she wants to do the right thing, want to stand beside her best friend. Once again, it's like it's that weird thing of like it seems like it's more than just friendship. It does seem like she does have a thing for the doctor, but either way, it's like someone she deeply cares about and wanting to do the right thing, finally do the right thing. So when the time did come, it did seem like she wanted to change. But the thing is, like, it's sad because it's like you feel like she didn't get the chance to do the right thing like she wanted to. So, I mean, I guess in some ways you can say she did do the right thing by turning herself into Misty. Because the thing is, she's like, I was like, I miss being you, the master. Is like, I miss that burning, like, feeling, that, like, the feeling of, like, a planet on, like, a planet burning, like that feeling. She missed that intensity from being the master. But, it's just, I don't know. I'm just sad that it ended that way. Even having, like, and then going back to it, like, Nardole wanting to stay, and the doctor's like, no, you go. Which one of us do you think is stronger? And I don't know whether he was interpreting that as like, yeah, at the very end of this all, like, it's because he's on the verge of regenerating and that's what he was talking about or not. But Bill decided to stay with him too because like he made her a promise. She was like, yeah, like if I can't be me anymore, I want you to kind of basically destroy me because I don't want to go on not being able to be me. But the doctor's like, the fact of the matter is, the fact is you cried, there are tears, that means there's hope because there's still some of you in there. So I mean, because another thing I'm very interested to see, like, because this isn't like this storyline isn't concluded because they went up a couple floors. Like Nardo took the rest of the people and they left and they went up a couple floors. But the fact is there's so much left to climb. But the fact that obviously the higher they go, the more time it would, like, the Cybermen will have to progress because I mean, I didn't even talk about too much. Is the fact of the matter is some of the Cybermen have upgraded to like being the more traditional form that you're used to, not the kind of more primitive, quote unquote, primitive form that they have, the primitive form that Bill's in right now. There's actual legit, like, the Cybermen form that we're so used to at this point in time. But it's like the doctor calculated that basically the time it would take them to climb the tower, especially because just climb the ship, that the higher you go getting towards the TARDIS, like the time would move slower, the Cybermen would have 1,000 years to kind of be prepared to take them down. So that's what this was about. At the very least, buying them enough time so that they could keep going. So at least give them some time by destroying as many Cybermen as possible. And I appreciate kind of one of the final lines between Bill and the doctor, at least that he's aware of. It's like, it's like, do you have anything to say to me? It's like, no. Do you have anything to say to me? It's like, no, I don't think so. And it's just like, wait, you know how that thing about how I always like girls and especially people closer to my age? He's like, yeah. I just wanted to make sure you knew that and just kind of smiles. It's like a little gut punch, I guess, because it was like, just the fact is, it's like, oh, this might be like a moment of like, oh, like there's something here. And it's like, no, I'm just messing with you. Just kind of still being Bill, And the doctor, I don't know, just kind of a badass moment of him just going around setting off all those pipelines that kind of explode and everything. And then, but he gets attacked and everything. They're like, I'm the doctor. He's like, no doctor is necessary. It's like, no, I'm not a doctor. I'm the doctor. And explodes all the pipelines and kind of destroys like a mass amount of the Cybermen, setting them back heavily. And he lays there. Bill shows up, tears in her eyes and everything. I'm like, dude, I was like, what? It's like, he didn't even regenerate. I guess the damage was so intense that he couldn't regenerate. I mean, much the same thing as Missy. And you have Bill over him. But then the pilot program from the very first episode pops up again. I don't even remember I don't remember the character's name now that the pilot took the form of. But like obviously the human side is still there to an extent because it's like she's going towards Bill and she ends up making Bill, like, basically because of what she was able to kind of rewrite Bill and make Bill more like her. It's like you're alive. I mean, it's a different form of living, but you're no longer a Cyberman. You are kind of you again. But it's like, she's like, if you want to, I can make you human. At the end of the day, though, it's like, you have to make the choice. But it's like, hey, let's go on adventures and stuff like that. It's actually kind of, almost kind of reflects Clara's ending, too. I mean, I say ending, but we don't know if this is the end for Bill or not. I mean, it seemed like it might have been the end for the doctor, too. But, like, Bill cried on him, and she's like, the fact of the matter is, when there's tears, there's hope. Because Bill's tears allow the pilot to track her, because it's like, yeah, because I left you my tears, so I always knew, if you cried, like I knew exactly where to find you. So it's like, hey, let's go off together into this great universe and just kind of explore and live. So the tear works and the doctor kind of wakes up, but he's regenerating. And it's just that line, that one line of like, I don't want to go. Every doctor has it. And it's just like, it breaks your heart every time. You're like, ugh, because it's like, they know that once they regenerate, they will never be them again. It's like, no, I want to be me. I want to live as me. I don't want to be anyone else. I don't want to change anymore. I'm tired of always being someone else. I want to just be me and stay me. And it's just like, it's so heart-wrenching when you hear those lines and stuff. And so each time the regeneration is happening, he's fighting, he's like, I guess that's explanation for why his hair is a little bit longer. It's because he was in the middle of changing and he just fought it off. And that's, I guess, when he was fighting his regeneration, made time move a little bit differently, I guess. While he's regeneration, he's fighting, he's like, I am the doctor. And then he's on a planet that the TARDIS drops him off at. Once again, the TARDIS takes you not where you want to go, but where you need to go. And there's a man that's like, oh, you're the doctor. No, you're a doctor. I'm the doctor. So immediately my brain goes to, as you know, I am not that familiar with like the original Doctor Who series. I'm assuming it's one of the previous doctors that he's seeing. And not unless it's a future version of himself, but I'm pretty sure it's probably like, I mean, once again, could be completely wrong. I mean, it's kind of the same situation as like the 50th year anniversary where Matt Smith's doctor met one of his past iterations and they're just kind of laughing about it and stuff like that. Just a little like cameo appearance like that. So I'm thinking it's going to be something like that. So like I said, overall, it was just a fantastic episode. Like I said, so many like sad moments and stuff like that, because like I said, like, I don't know if this will be the end of Bill's story or not. I definitely know this is the end of Peter Capaldi's story, because it's his final season as a doctor. So I'm assuming it's all going to come to head like in the Christmas special. So we're going to have to wait till then. I am very curious to see who is going to be the next doctor. I'm curious to see if it's going to be an actor I'm familiar with. Also, will it? I mean, it seemed like they might be setting it up to be like, yo, time for a lady doctor. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait to see on that department. But I mean, ultimately, I'm curious to see what they do with that, as well as what will they do with Bill's story. And is this 100% the end of Missy's story, or is there something more to Missy? Like, will we get a situation where like the doctor comes to her in a Christmas special to save her, to make sure that she lives, or something like that? Maybe they cross paths and it's like, oh, she helps him in the Christmas special. Just throwing out a lot of stuff. Like, we will have to literally wait until Christmas to see like how this all plays out. I am very eagerly awaiting to see what goes on there, especially, like I said, because this storyline isn't, I get the feeling like it might be a continuation of that story just because of Nardal's whole situation of like, getting back. And now I'm sitting here thinking about that. Well, I guess being what they are, they had a lot, they could move around however they want to, because they got back to the top of the TARDIS. So Nardal's situation of like, I mean, because they don't even have a plan. It's like, what do we do? It's like, well, we keep climbing until like we can. I mean, like now I'm being a completely another idiot, because I'm like, oh, the doctor has a TARDIS, so obviously that is going to have to come back full circle. He will have to come back to get them or help them at the very least. So I don't know. Nardal's meant to stay there for as long as possible. I mean, since he doesn't age, he'll protect them generation after generation after generation. So there's not like an exit at the top waiting for them. That being like, the TARDIS is gone now. But like I said, with the way time works and everything, so we will just kind of have to wait and see. I'm throwing out all these theories and stuff. Just have to wait and see. And now moving on to this week's episode of Orphan Black. Such a good episode. So many new developments and reveals in this episode. Okay, so this episode saw the return of two specific characters, Virginia Cody as well as Adele. Both surprising, and I think I actually brought them up in previous episodes talking about things. I was wondering whether Adele was going to pop up again or not. She did, and it turns out she's actually back. And knows everything, because S finally told her everything. Probably not everything, but if Felix has explained, like, the reason why I didn't tell you, because this is a very messed up life we have, and I didn't want to drag you into it. From the beginning, now it's always like Felix is concerned about getting her mixed up in it. Just want to keep some normalcy. At least, like, my life isn't normal. I don't want you to get mixed up in it, especially because Felix kind of got to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm trying to have that normal life, but this weird life keeps dragging me back. This weird life is my life, and I'm not going to get you dragged down with me in this whole situation. We find out why Adele actually got disbarred. It's not because of the whole drinking situation. Maybe that's a byproduct of everything. But her main thing for getting kicked out was for embezzling money. She's like, I'm very good at finding money, stealing it, not whatsoever. But it seems like she's part of S's plan because all this Neolution stuff, there's some heavy Neolution related stuff kind of connected to the Switzerland. It's like patents, because that's what Adele was talking to Fee about, like, oh, patents, like money and stuff like that. So it's like probably some of like Neolution's like heavy bank accounts are probably there too, patents and all this stuff that's related to Neolution. That's kind of what Felix and Adele are going to be doing, like the next episode on, and like trying to figure out what's going on in Switzerland. Obviously, there's a whole situation with S and Sarah finding someone named Alex who's some connection to Westmoreland. This was like a top tier member, and I was curious myself. I was like, who is it going to be? It's like, oh, someone you know. It's like, obviously it's going to be someone you know because Siobhan's been so secretive about who it is. And it's like, okay, when you see them, don't get pissed. I was like, okay, who is it? I was like trying to figure out. I was like, who is it? I was like, I can't tell. And it's like, freaking Cody. But I do think I remember bringing it up because we haven't seen her since like season 3. Like the last time we saw her, she was in the car and Ferdinand got in with her. That was the last time we saw hide or hair of Cody. So also, side note, kind of related to that, the whole like undercover thing Siobhan and Sarah did. Side note, the actor who was like helping the character that helped was like, all right, you guys can go in, let me see your, okay, like I'll help you guys out and stuff like him. That's the same actor who plays Jeremy on Winona Earp. Just the crossover like that. Just it's the second time that's happened. It's just kind of in my head. But nevertheless, I thought that story about Elizabeth Perkins, like how they were going to get close to her. I thought what was going to be the like thing of it all is like, oh, like because there's a whole thing about, oh, her daughter hates her and is going to sue her and everything. I thought the twist was going to be like, oh, Sarah's going to go over, pretend, like dress up and pretend to be her daughter. And it's like, oh, to get close to her to get the information they need. That's what I thought, but it turned out not to be the case. It was just kind of like it's kind of interesting too, because S and Sarah working like that, you never like, it's like, oh, you're casing this place. Oh, who's the mark? It's like, we've never really seen that side of S, like doing this whole situation. I mean, who's to say? We know bits about Siobhan's past, but not everything she was up to. But we hear that she was kind of a rebel back in the day. So it's kind of interesting seeing her and Sarah kind of working together like that, kind of on a mark and everything. It's just so kind of interesting. It's just interesting because you don't even ever really got to see Sarah work. To a certain extent, you did back in season 1 when she's pretending to be Beth and everything. So you got to see it to that extent, but still. I like the revelation that, like this all goes back. The person who put her in here has got her all doped up and everything is Susan, because this also gets revealed, Susan and Westmoreland have a past. Cody and Westmoreland all work together on this whole situation. This is before Castor was even a thing. It's actually even before they found Lita, but they were working on experiments together. And the reason why Susan and Westmoreland had a falling out, it's like, yes, and it's something she explained to Ira. We want the same thing. What really drove us apart is the fact of the matter is we went about it different approaches. The fact is, Westmoreland as well as Cody are more like, no matter what the cause may be, we're going to push further and further to get the results we need. Kind of almost barbaric. And even though you may not always agree with the way Susan does things, she does have her limits. There are lines she won't cross. And it turns out the thing that's in the woods, in fact, is a person, was actually the first Kendall Malone. Like, that the first human they ever experimented on. But it went horribly wrong. He got tumors, brain damage, and became more monstrous. And that's mainly because Cody, along with Westmoreland, kept pushing it further and further. Susan didn't want it, so they went their separate ways. Cody got Castor, and Susan got Lita. They just kind of kept themselves apart and everything like that. I guess Westmoreland was fine with that because at the end of the day, I guess he felt like he would get the results he wanted nonetheless. At the very least, I guess he figured he could also get there on his own. Sadly, he couldn't. That's why he needs Susan now, so... But that's what that thing's about, because even Casima's trying to find out more about it. Mud's not really giving any responses. Mud actually seems close to this person. So this person, because it's like... Because there are some people on the island who are familiar with this, like, where is he? Where is he? And even Mud's like, he doesn't mean to do it. So either it's someone that she befriended after the whole experiment, or it's someone Mud used to know. Maybe it's like her brother, maybe it's her dad or something. Whatever the case may be, it's someone that she knows. And, well, I doubt it would be like her brother. Well, the reason why I'm saying I doubt it could be like someone related to her is because I feel like, because they're saying like this person had a very unique genome. That's why they picked them. this person, just like they picked Kendall because of her whole situation that led to the creation of casters and lead us the whole like having absorbed a twin, you know, while she has two separate DNAs like that. So, but the fact of the matter is, if Mud was directly related to this person, I feel like she would be part of this experiment at some point in time. I mean, granted, that could be where this is totally going at the very least, if they are related. Maybe it's a situation where no one actually knows that they're related. I don't know. Like, whatever the case may be, Mud is trying to keep Cassima as far away from this. Like, it does seem like Mud has her reservations about this whole situation. Like, she acts like she's all cool with Westmoreland and everything, but she looks at the whoever that is in the woods, and you know she doesn't like that situation. So even Casima's like, you have reservations about what's going on here. Side note, I thought there was going to be multiple people in the woods. It turns out it's just the one. So we still don't have a clear-cut picture as to why they did that specific thing. Like, what are they aiming for? Like, well, can we see that Westmoreland is being hooked up to a machine by Mud? So it's like, I might have thrown this out there before, but it seems like whatever it's his longevity, it seems like it might be wearing off and his body's finally giving out. And that might be what the long run of all of this is. Like, it seems like longevity is the main thing, like fighting all diseases and stuff like that. But whatever Westmoreland did to get to where he is now, it might be wearing down, and he needs to find a newer and more permanent solution. Maybe what he did originally doesn't help anymore. So, I mean, because we still don't know, like, early days of Neolution, how it all worked out. Like, it had to be something Neolution related to have led to him to keep his longevity. So maybe he tried recreating it, you know, but it's like, these people with unique genomes are 1 in a million. So it does seem like this whole situation with Kira is leading to this. Susan's willing to help him and everything. Yes, she doesn't like the way things are going to go about. And I was like, are you really going to work with someone like him again after everything? Because he basically pushed Rachel to stab you, your own daughter, to betray you. But it's like, in her eyes, she's like, I'm doing this not just for the science. I'm doing this for all of us. Because he's like, are you doing this for her? Specifically, Rachel doesn't want Rachel to because like Susan doesn't want Rachel to get mixed up with him, because it's like he will push Rachel too far. It's like, Rachel's already very fragile. I don't want her to be mixed all in this. He still wants her to be the forefront. It's like, yes, we'll work together again, but Rachel will still be at the forefront of everything. So anything you discover or work on, like, Rachel's going to be the lead on it too. So the question then turns to is, does Rachel know what the end game is with this whole situation of, like, Kira being the next possible subject? We see what happens when their experiments go too far like that. So it's like, who's to say? I mean, Susan's going to be there to make sure they don't go that far, but who's to say Rachel won't still push them? But that all depends on whether or not Rachel knows that what they have planned for Kira, what the aftermath could be. Because when it's all said and done, we might have that side of Rachel who's like all for the experiments and stuff like that. Because we've seen how far Rachel will go for her ambitions, especially now because she feels like, oh, this is where I'm meant to be. This is my place. So will she be willing to sacrifice Kira if it means continuing the life work that she was made to complete? That is the question. And I'm hoping when it's all said and done, Rachel will prove, you know, everyone wrong, including Sarah, because currently Kira is the only person that sees the good side in Rachel. Because she's getting mad. She's like, Mom's being such an idiot. You're blaming Rachel for everything. Even the fact is that Kira cut herself. Not what I thought was going to happen. I was like, okay. But like, she ended up cutting her arm, and that, like, she just like, she admitted, like, I want to see how fast I can heal. It wasn't Rachel who did this to me. Rachel's just nice to me. She talks to me, but it's like, Mom's being an idiot and won't trust me. And Felix is like, Monkey, we don't know. I mean, like, what Rachel has planned for you. You can't trust her, because at the end of the day, we don't know what she wants to do with that special thing about you, you know? But then again, it's like, does Rachel know? And if she does know, like, you know, like, what will she do ultimately? Is it something that they haven't told her what the end result of all of this would be? Like, oh, we're going to experiment on Kira like this? Because maybe she wholeheartedly believes, like, we're just going to take Kira's genetics, that's all we want from her, and she will always be yours type of thing. So I'm thinking Rachel doesn't know the end result. That, or she's just being a great liar. Like I said, hopefully spending time with Kira will kind of change that, kind of fill that hole in her heart, because it's like, you know, because like Rachel never really had anyone. She had like people she was close to and everything, but at this time she is kind of alone. I mean, she feels like she's part of a greater purpose, being part of Neolution, being with Westmoreland and everything, but still it's like she doesn't really have anyone. And I think that's why she latches on to Kira, not only just for the science aspect, but also because it makes her feel like, oh, I have a daughter of my own. So like, the thing is, like, Sarah, it's understandable why Sarah has her reservations. And the thing is, Kira doesn't understand everything Rachel has done in the past, I think. to warrant like all of this. Like, cause even Helena's like, you're gonna have to tell her everything, but it's like, I don't want her mixed up in all of this. I don't want her to kind of basically deal with the shit that we're having to deal with or had to deal with. It's like, well, she has to, like, whether you want to admit it or not, Kira's in a smack dab middle of all of this. She's the key to everything. So at the very least, because Sarah's sad because it's like, I don't have the answer she wants. And it's kind of a thing too. And it was kind of an interesting conversation. Also, like really quickly, I was wondering about the whole convent situation with Helena last episode. Why specifically here after her whole situation was because this particular nun was someone that actually took care of her. She cared for her. Like, you know, when the other nuns kind of treated like Helena like crap, this was the only nun that actually treated her right. And basically she was called blasphemous and kind of, you know, working with like taking care of a monster like Helena, and as punishment, they cut her tongue out. And I was like, Sarah's like, oh wow, okay. But the thing is, like, the whole, like, Sarah admits something. She's like, the entire time I avoided you, Helena. And Helena's like, oh yeah, we did try to kill each other. It's like, it's not even just that we didn't get along with that standard. Yes, that, but also I avoided you because you felt something I couldn't feel. The fact of the matter is, from the very beginning, Helena felt that connection between her and Sarah. And it's like, it scared her because it's like, because remember, from the very beginning, she's like, no, we're not connected. You're just a lunatic and everything. But she was scared to admit it. So she kind of pushed Helena away. But she's like, now, you know, Kira's special too, because Kira can feel all of us. And back on that island, what she felt, that's what she's like. So is that what it feels like? And Helena's like, yeah. So Helena wants to kind of get in the middle of it. She's like, yo, let's kill Westmoreland, kill Rachel. It's like, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to take care of your babies. That's what you're going to do. Also, it's kind of interesting too. Siobhan didn't go into the room to meet with Helena. She said it was just because it was her getting ready. Fact of the matter, since I sat there and thought about it, I was like, they haven't been back in the same room together since the whole squashing the beef in season 3, her selling Helena as a means of saving Kira and Sarah in the season 2. I was like, they have not been in the same room together, same scene together subsequently since, have they? So I think that was probably part of her reservations about going. It's just like, oh yeah, you know, you spend time with your sister. I think that was kind of, I'm sure the whole like getting ready situation applied too, but I think that might have been more so than anything else too. So then again, that's just me feeling that way. I mean, that might not be true whatsoever. So currently now, like I said, like everyone's kind of like, okay, we need to work together in this situation. Like obviously Felix is mad. Like, you shouldn't have told her ass about this whole Adele about this whole situation. But it's like, no, we're going to handle this as a family. Like, you know, because even though Sarah has her reservations about everything, the fact is that S keeps her secrets and everything. It's like, no, we gotta believe in S. I think because like a lot of times she went against S's orders and stuff like that, things kind of went badly. And it's like, no, this is the time we have to come together if we want this situation figured out. We want the situation handled. We want some of our lives back. We need to also do this for Kira's sake too, to get her from out of the middle of all of this. So like we'll follow S's lead. I think, you know, like I said, past situations of not following S's orders kind of probably made her not, you know, making her go like, yeah, we got to follow S, because this is kind of S's world in handling this type of situation. Also, it's interesting that she has yet to tell her Sarah that it's Delphine. I wonder why. Is it because she was like worried that Sarah would be reluctant to accept Delphine's help, even with the situation being what it is, or what? Or is it just that the fact is you don't want it kind of like, I don't know, like maybe it's because Delphine has some plans in order of her own, and that if everything's said and done, Sarah might tell Cosima about it, you know, and it might get it kind of everything stirred up. It's like Cosima needs to do what she's doing, stay focused on what she's doing. Sarah needs to stay focused on hers. Like I said, last episode we found out about the whole Allison situation of like she's going away for a while. So curious to see like where that's going to go or not, because she's kind of out of the loop with this whole situation. But it's like for Allison, it's like she's got to take the time to kind of figure herself out, you know, inside and outside of this whole like circumstance and situation. So I wonder, will we get any look at Switzerland and all with Adele and Felix next episode, or whenever they decide to shoot? I wonder, will we get to see that side of things or not? I hope so. But also, next episode is most likely going to be getting Cody out of that facility she's in, because she still is their best resource for all these answers. Obviously, they have Ira on the inside, so Ira's going to be like the inside information for Sarah and them too. That was also another thing too I brought up is like it seems like he is the last of the casters. Like I said, they're still like not referencing Mark, but I'm sure Mark is off, like I said, somewhere with Gracie or whatever. So he's off somewhere with Gracie somewhere. So because at the end of this, because like if that is the case, they're at the very least they are definitely the last two casters standing. So what does that mean for them with their whole like situation? Because the whole thing was like, oh, we'll cure the leaders, but screw the casters, just because of what is inside of them and what that can do to people and stuff like that. I'm also curious, what will happen if Westmoreland finds out that Cody is still alive? What will Cody do? Will Cody be willing to help them, or is this all some purpose of like, hey, I'm out, I get away from you guys, and I go back to Westmoreland, and we continue what we're meant to do when it's all said and done? Because it was Susan that locked her up, so will it be like a whole situation of like kick Susan out of this? She's not really going to take the science as far as you need it to go. I will. I get the feeling, because I doubt Cody's like going to back down like that. Like I like that because it seemed like Cody was kind of just like she's at the head of the caster thing. It's just the whole government thing. I thought that was kind of like where that went, but it's like no, like it seems like she's neck deep in all this, especially because in fact it's like because she was basically like Susan and Westmoreland brought me into this whole situation. I was like, at the very least, Westmoreland did when she was a lot younger. She was like a kid, maybe. He kind of brought her into this whole situation. So she's like one of his closest confidants. So obviously she has like a lot of the intel. And I appreciate that. Just kind of taking a character you didn't think there was this much story left to tell about them. And lo and behold. So like I said, just a great episode. Some interesting reveals. I'm curious to see what Cosima does about the whole situation, because she's seen firsthand. Because we never actually got a good look at the person when they attacked Sarah. Like, it's not like they're trying to attack her on purpose. It's like they're just in a mindset of just, they're kind of wild at this moment. It probably doesn't have, like, there's no telling how much of them is still them, how much of their, like, mind or, like, their humanity is still intact. So, because we still don't even know. I mean, I think it's probably going to be a big reveal as to who this person is. I mean, for all we know, that might actually be like Westmoreland's own child or something. Maybe it's a child. I mean, no, because I was about to say maybe it's a child that he created or something, much like the Lita or Caster situation. But then I'm like, no, that can't be. It seems like, because they went out of their way to talk about the fact that they found this person. But it's like, I am curious to find out who their identity is, because I feel like that's going to be a big reveal, like who they are. So, I mean, like I said, we will just kind of have to wait and see what goes on in the next episode. I mean, as well as the rest of the season, to see where this is all heading to. Also, there was that single line of dialogue from Kira that was like, Mom doesn't realize I'm doing this for you. It's just like, wait, what do you, Felix was like, what do you mean by that? So it's like, maybe there is a part of Kira that is doing this because it's like, well, I guess it's like, maybe if Kira's like, if I understand what I am, maybe I can help Mom out a little bit more and she won't have to worry about me as much anymore. You know, Mom will finally, you know, maybe she feels like her mom doesn't 100% understand. I mean, she herself doesn't understand herself. So maybe she's afraid her mom won't understand her either. So it's like, if I get answers, Mom won't have to worry about like my whole situation. She won't have to worry anymore, you know? Like maybe she's like, maybe she is trying to get close to Rachel to pump her for information without really telling her mom, because she knows if her mom found out, her mom would stop her or something like that. That was kind of a thought of mine, but it seems like her whole situation with Rachel is legitimate. Maybe that's what it started off as, but now it's a combination, like she wants to help out her mom, but she also, you know, cares for Rachel too and wants to spend time with her, because it's like, oh, you're helping me get answers. So maybe much like Susan, Kira's doing all of this because it's a means to an end for her. I don't know. We'll have to, Maybe not. We'll have to see. So, but really, that's all I wanted to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.